We have to turn on coordinates. We have to turn on dynamic input. We have to turn on line weight. We have to turn on units, okay? And then what we have is the four horsemen of the apocalypse. We have the winking robot, the pizza, the alligator, and the square, okay? Otherwise known as dynamic input, polar tracking, snap tracking, and snaps. Question? Question? You guys good? Okay. So that's what we got going on there. And so, any questions so far? Okay. So once you've got this now, I just started to draw this right here, and this is, I think I drew it wrong. So what I've got right now is I was supposed to draw this to be 8 inches by 20 inches, but I didn't do that. I've actually got it 1 foot by 20 inches. So I can just take this and drag it down how far? Well, if I drew it at 12, I had to drag it down 4. So I type in 4, and I can quickly edit just like that by using my grips. Then if I touch this there, I've got my different dimensions there to show up. Okay, so that's what we have there. So I went ahead and started my drawing with that. I got my 8 inch by 20 inch thing there. And then my dimensions, as I'm putting these on, if I go ahead and if I use my dimension tool allows you to basically just touch an object and get it to get a dimension on it. So I go ahead and touch this and this, we're good to go. But this one I have a problem because the actual item that I want really is supposed to say 20 inches, and mine doesn't say that. Mine says 1 foot 8 inches. So how do we get around that? Well, we override it by clicking on it and go to our properties. All right, now under properties, you can do anything you want to almost anything. There's all kinds of opportunities to edit. So in this case, what we want to do is the primary units are architectural, because that's what they are down here. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to change this to something that's going to work a little better, from architectural to fractional. So I make it fractional, and that makes it just a dumb 20, but it doesn't give me the inch symbol, so I can give it a suffix, meaning an end notation. So I go ahead and put that in. Now, looks about right now. 20 inches by 8 inches, we're good to go. Now the next thing we talked about is our hatch pattern. So if I change my layer to hatching, I can then say, okay, let's go to my hatch pattern. Let's see what I got here. Let's see what my choices are. So going into here, if I click on this down arrow right here, it gives me all my different choices. And I told you, I think it's AR Comp, but I'm not sure. So let's go in here. Oh, it looks pretty good there. Yeah, that looks like it's even pretty good scale, doesn't it? So if I go ahead and click there, we are good to go. And so that's the first part of the drawing. We're good to go. Now the next thing I want to do is keep on drawing, so I'll go back to my wall there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll just use my line, and I want to go in 6 inches from the edge, okay, because that's how far I have to go. I type in 6. And then I go up, and then how far up do I want to go? Well, I know that, let's see here, I've got 8 inches, and my total is 24 inches, so I got to go up 16 inches. So let me go up 16. Okay, once I've gone over 16, I'm going to go over 5 to accommodate my top wall. And then I'm going to go down 4 inches to accommodate my 4-inch concrete. And I'm going to go over this far to give it a total of, that's got to be 8 inches. So I go over, taking my 5. I got to pick up the next 3, so I'm going to go to 3. And then I go ahead and bring it on down. When I do that, boom, I've got that kind of a shape right there. And I think I've got that all right. And so, yeah, I'll have to check it. But there's some, you'll notice that it's got a 6-inch minimum, 18-inch minimum on there. So we're actually good to go there. So the next thing I could do here is I could then put in my my anchor bolt, or I'll do my hatching later, so I'm not going to worry about that just yet. But the next thing I'm seeing right now as I do that, I've got my bituminous joint. My bituminous joint goes right here. I said it's about 1/8 of an inch. And that's got to be on a different layer. That's going to go ahead and go on the, I'll go ahead and put that on the slab layer, just to get this going. And so I'll start my line command. I'm going to go ahead and make this, we'll go over here and go over 0.5, rather 0.125, that's an 1/8. And then we'll go down to here, and we're going to go there. Now once I got that, I could hatch that by going to my hatch layer and touching it inside of here. and I gotta basically tell it something. So right now it's not even showing up, so I'm gonna go to ANSI 31, and go into here and see how that looks inside there. That looks pretty good too. So I go ahead and click there, and I successfully did that. So we're kind of building this, we're moving right along. And as we're doing that, the next thing we see is, then I got my concrete. My concrete goes over to the side some distance, and so if I wanted to put my concrete in, I would go ahead and go to my concrete layer or a gravel base, let's say. We'll go to gravel base, and I'll start my polyline, just to give myself something to work with. And I'll go over here, and then go over, kind of eyeball it, go about this far. And I'm gonna click it, I'm gonna go down 4 inches. And well, for that one right there, it doesn't really say. It basically, you notice on the drawing right here, it just kind of stops. Okay, it goes off into right here. It doesn't want to tell you. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, this is a representation. So yes, this is where you're going to kind of eyeball it. You're the designer in this case. You don't want to make it 30 feet long. The overall dimension. I knew you guys were going to ask this. The overall dimension, let me show you what you would get, okay, because I know you guys you want to get it right, and I totally respect that. So what we're going to do is I'll show you what your dimension would be if I went from one side to the other. If I started on the far side of this and went over to here, my distance is 3'10". So basically from side to side, it's about 4 feet. The whole thing will fit in with 4 feet with your text and so forth, okay? Does that help? Now, it doesn't, but again, when I first drew this, no one told me. So yeah, you're just kind of like doing a representation. Now here, we have that problematic thing which looks like a break line, okay? So what I'm gonna do right now is I could hatch this in here right now. But first, before I do that, I'm gonna make this a break line. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go to dimensions, and there is a tool, I'm gonna go drop this down, and go to show menu bar, because that's what I like to do. And up here you have your express tools. Your express tools are something that AutoCAD has been packaging since, I don't know, since around, my gosh, I don't know, 2000 or so. And there's a bunch of cool tools here that are still out here. Now one of them that I like to use quite a bit is, let's see here, is it text tool? It's a dimension tool, no, not that one. Let's see. Draw, the break line symbol. Okay, we already saw this before, but you basically would go here and draw my second point for my break line, and then I'd go ahead and put the point right here for that. Okay, that's how we get that, okay? So I was able to put that in like that, and then you can grab your points and pull them back and forth until they look about right, okay? And you can squeeze them and, kind of give them a different kind of look. I think you get the idea as far as what you do. In this case, there's 2 of them, so you basically just make one and just copy it. So that's what you do. Now you'll notice I got this line right here, and it's right now not being terribly cooperative because I don't really need that. So I explode my polyline, and then I go ahead and just get rid of that line. When I do that, I get this nice clean edge over here. And then this could be hatched, and we know how to do that. We go here and we go to hatching, and I would go ahead and go to my hatch, and I would use the same hatch I used before. So go here, and let's see, ARCon, which is this one, it looks like there, boom, we're looking good. So that's just kind of, so we're starting to get this thing populated pretty well here. Now, the other thing over on the left, I've got a situation where I've actually got some, well, let's continue right here. I've also got a 4 mil vapor barrier, that's really thin. And that just kind of like reaches out underneath here. So the 4 mil vapor barrier is also going to be on this slab layer. So if I start this line, I want to go ahead and put in this little 4 mil barrier. And again, I'm going to make a 1/4 of an inch, rather an 1/8 of an inch. And so I'll make it an 1/8, and then going over here, I'm going to put to there and then to there. Now, what I would do there is that doesn't have any hatching on it, so I just leave that alone. Now the next thing, this is where you can really use some of the cool stuff of a polyline. If I go to hatching right here, and I want to make that this section right, I want to go ahead and make this section. You'll notice that it's got kind of a broken line down here, just kind of a random line. Okay, but I want to have that same kind of a look, and the same thing for over here, so I want to do that. So polyline is the best way to go about doing that. So what I'll do is, to make that, I would go ahead and start my polyline command, and then I'd go ahead and drag this down. And I'll start here, I'll go down like 4 inches, just to give you an idea. So I'm down here at this point, and I'm going to go ahead, boom, 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 boom. kind of a bit of a randomized type thing. Because when you have this kind of a thing in your construction project, it's not always going to be that easy to work. So let me go back to here. Let me pull this one down. This. All right, like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use one of the cool tools that we learned about with polylines. I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to spline it. And when I spline it, using that nice kind of curvy edge, which is like more realistic as far as what life is like, that's what that thing would actually work out to be. And then inside of here, I would put in a hatch pattern. That's got to be sand or gravel. So I'd go to hatch again, and I change my pattern. This time there actually is I believe there is a gravel in specific. Yeah, there's gravel right there. So you use gravel, you go right in there. Actually, it doesn't look like the picture, so let's try sand. Let's go down and see how we do with sand. Sand, I think, is what I used. And again, you guys have some latitude on this. Sand, let's see. They are sand, that's it. So